Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going over the 5 best reliable gold making markets. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so today we're going to be going over 5 reliable markets in order for people to make gold on the regular. Now these are markets that I have tested and I've actually done myself, so I know that they actually work. There are a few catches to a couple of them, so that being said, let's get into number 1, which is Raid Night Pots and Flasks. Now, Raid Night Pots and Flasks are generally a very good way in order to make gold. This is because every time a reset of the week actually happens, we'll see a high demand for those types of materials, so such as pots and flasks. And also in the weekend, you'll see an influx for the supply of those as well. Now, the thing to actually bear in mind with this is to source your materials either by yourself or by purchasing them earlier on in the week when actual prices have actually dropped quite considerably, and that means you can become more competitive upon those raid nights or the weekly resets, and that means that you can increase the amount of gold that you're actually getting through that. It is worth double checking your price on something like the Undermine Journal in order to see when it's the best time to buy and source your materials. Generally speaking, raid night selling is quite competitive, so unless you're willing to camp the auction house for that and you like the thrill of trying to constantly undercut and all of that jazz, then it's worth your time in order to do, as you can pull in a massively sizable amount of gold. Between around about 6 o'clock to about 9 o'clock, sales go through the roof, so you can sell things like within mere minutes, and that's generally when you want to be selling upon a weekly reset or a weekend. So in the afternoon, after like dinner or something, you'd want to get all of your raid night stuff and start selling it around about 6 o'clock and then finish at 9 o'clock. And by the end of that, you should have sold through the majority of all of your stock for yourself. This does also pair along well with cooking and feasts, so that is something to bear in mind as well. Now, coming in at number 2 is current material farming. Now, this goes as no surprise that current content materials sell relatively fast. They're brilliant in order to do, and overall are quite easy in order to sell, as because it's the current expansion, people are going to be wanting to buy these. Now, the trick is with this is not by doing them as a single use farm. If you want to maximize the amount of gold that you're actually getting, it's well worth your time to do a multi-farm for these. And when I mean multi-farm, I mean paired with mining and herbalism combined and going around that zone doing that. Generally speaking, you'll make more gold per hour through multi-farming than you would for standalone farming for herbalism and mining, and overall you'll generally be able to farm up a load of those materials and a lot more of those materials because you're combining those two gathering professions. This is where you'll be able to maximize the amount of gold when you're actually sourcing those materials. And for selling, it's relatively easy in order to get your sales. So if you are new to gold making and you want to actually get a hold of quick sales and quick gold and see an absolute best fast returns, current material farming is your way to go in order to gain real fast sales when it comes towards just making gold in general. Overall, this isn't always the most profitable way of making gold, but it is the fastest way to see a return for your time. So therefore, I would highly suggest, if you're new to this, go for it. If you're an intermediate gold maker, so to speak, then you would want to actually double down on other different types of farms, which we are about to cover later on in this video. Aside from all of that, let's jump into our next one at number 3, which is mounts farmed and crafted. The mounts market is a very good market in order to get into, whether that be farming it in the open world for things like the Garn Night Howl and the Rains of Poseidus and selling those on. This can also be done with sky shards. Thing with farmed mounts is usually they've got like a barrier to entry for that. The easiest, of course, is the Garn Night Howl. This requires you to just log every 20 minutes or whenever you feel like it, really, and it's a 100% chance you'll get that mount. With the Rains of Poseidus, however, you'll want to go into the abyssal depths and you'll want to follow where the spawn locations are for Poseidus, the rare that is in that zone. Now, Poseidus has a 4-hour respawn timer. You will want to log every 4 hours in order to do that. However, for myself, I pretty much log in at 6 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, and also around about 6 and 9 at night. You're probably wondering why it's 3-hour intervals instead of the 4 hours. Now, I actually find that I get the actual mount within those time frames, so it's always wise for myself to just log at those time frames each and every day, and that opens up the rest of the day to do other different types of things like gold farming, crafting, and making decent chunks of gold overall. Aside from all of that, that is pretty much what it is for farm stuff. When it comes towards crafted mounts, you've got the panther mounts for jewel crafting, you've got the engineering mounts such as the mechanized chopper, and also alchemy with the vial of the sands, which everyone knows that I'm a big fan of. Crafted mounts are very easy to do. The only barrier to entry for that is a high cost of gold for initial investments, but once you've actually got the ball rolling, you can actually just be pulling in gold each and every day, as it is typically usually very profitable in order to do. And alongside that, you can pull in some significant amounts of gold. That being said, that is the farmed and crafted mounts market. So let's get on to number 4, which is Transmog. Now you're probably wondering why Transmog is on this list for one of the best gold markets for reliability. Now there is a catch to Transmog. What you need to do in order to get regular sales for reliable gold each and every day for Transmog is to have mass quantities of this, stretched by the imagination that you will have to put up a lot of upfront work into towards farming up Transmog to gain regular sales. Now, Transmog selling is by all means one of the hardest markets to actually break into, but it also is one of the most reliable once it's set up. What you're generally wanting to be able to go for is around about 2,000 items on the auction house. At first you will want to actually go for 1,000 and then scale that up. For myself, it's usually around about 2,000, 2,500 or somewhere in between that I start to gain regular sales each and every day for reliability for gold making. And overall this will require you to run some old raids and dungeons. Now the best ones that are staples are obviously Diamol, Zul'Farrak, and the Sunwell. Those ones are staple gold farms that you can do, but you can also do ones like Hellfire Ramparts and also the Mana Tombs if you want to get higher end mogs. Things like the Iron Docks and WoD actually sell rather well as well, but be warned, some of the later expansion stuff does have some fake value attached to that, so I would be wary on that and stick with the vanilla-esque stuff moving forward. For myself, I keep it really simple. If I want to kickstart my Transmog farming once again and start making regular gold with Transmog, I will run an hour of every single dungeon. Now this does take quite a considerable amount of time, but afterwards the yields from all of this will actually prove to be quite considerable, to say the least. What you actually win with Transmog is you win by selling in volume, because you want to sell a variety of unique different types of items, because not everyone wants their character to look the same. You wouldn't want to buy a orange shirt for another character, whereas another character would want a blue shirt. So therefore you need a variety of different types of mods on the auction house in order to gain regular sales. That being said, that's a brief overview of the Transmog market, and let's get on to our last and final market, which is Cataclysm, Volatiles and Herbs. Now, Cataclysm, Volatiles and Herbs can be summarised as some of the best sellers when it comes towards old world materials, and by no stretch of the imagination this is one of the best markets to get into. If you want to get high-end gold for moderately fast selling materials, Cataclysm is for you. Now, if you are wanting to actually farm this on the regular, you will start to see some mass amounts of gold coming in. This was my staple way of making gold before I obtained the recipe for the Vial of the Sands back in WoD. And overall, the volatiles are generally speaking some of the best, as well as herbs. Now, I personally like to do the multi-farm in Aldum for Whiptail and Pyrite ore, which provides me with a lot of ore and herbs, of course. But also along with that, all of the volatiles that I need from the mining nodes and also the herbs, they drop the volatiles as well. When it comes to a standalone volatile farm, the 5-man volatile fire farm is definitely well worth your time in the Twilight Highlands. I actually did a video a while back on that last year, as well as the volatile water farm for that. So if you are going for volatiles to actually make gold, then it's definitely well worth your time to do volatile water and volatile fire in a 5-man group, as you generally will get more volatiles for your time invested. Aside from all of that, guys, that's pretty much my pick for the 5 best reliable gold markets. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be soon. If you want to support the channel and help make the channel even better, then why not check out the Patreon? Members get additional info, gold making resources, and Patreon specific content. The link is located in the description down below. Thank you and have an awesome day.